Okay, so we're going to talk your final movie for stop motion animation. The most important thing is that you are following the guidelines that you set up in your storyboard. Your goal is to create a film that demonstrates some of the skills that you've already learned. You can incorporate new skills if you'd like, but you want to follow the guidelines in the rubric. You're going to use the OSnap app just like you did with the Skills Lab. You will need sets in your final movie. A background is what is behind the action of the movie. So if you are to think of a movie set, the wall in the background, if you're in a kitchen, the kitchen wall is going to be the background. If you're outside, the sky and the skyline, that's going to be your background. Now, floors, you need, for your set, you have to have both a background and a floor, something that covers with something appropriate between the camera and the start of the background. So if you're outside, your floor may be grass or asphalt, driveway, pavement. If you're inside, it'll be, let's go back to the kitchen. You're in a kitchen, it's going to be the kitchen floor. So maybe tile or something like that. Okay? So that's sets. The other thing that I want to go over is the rubric, because you need to make sure you're paying attention to the points possible. So for the rubric, you have this in the assignment part, the part where you're going to do the turning in. So your use of your storyboard is worth up to 10 points. So if you change something in your storyboard, your movie doesn't align with your storyboard, you would have to adapt your storyboard as you go. Okay? Which is fine, but you need to include that adapted storyboard then with your final movie. Set design is going to be worth another 10 points. Your animations, now this is one of the important parts. Okay, so right here is where I'm looking at. More than 3 different elements. Okay, remember, animations are all those things that you learned. So that could be something moving through the air. That could be something showing emotion. That could be, whatever. But it needs to be fairly obvious that that's what you're doing so that I know to count that as an animation. If you show me something that is only 1 or 2 frames long, chances are pretty good I'm going to miss that. So you need to make sure that your animations are long enough that I can see what's happening. Okay, so more than 3 will get you full points. 2 different elements would be a C level, so between 21 and 23 points. Okay, so you can see all the breakdowns there. Production is the other thing that you've worked really hard on in the skill lab. Oh, animations. Let me finish talking about animations. Animations can include characters walking, characters running, a car driving, an animal moving. Those are all different animations. Okay? Now, if you have 3 different characters walking, that's not 3 different elements. That's all walking. Okay? So different elements need to be different things. Okay, sorry. Now to production. So production, this is where we worked on you don't move your iPad at all, right? And you use the stand on the back. That keeps your shooting angle in one place. That keeps your animation smooth. And then making sure your shots are focused, they're not blurry, and that there are no hands in the frames. I shouldn't see your hands unless that is actually part of the story. Okay, so then we get to duration. So when we're talking duration and frame rate, okay, these go together. So for duration, your final movie is longer than 25 seconds. And that has to be at 10 frames per second. Okay? So you have to have, you can't use 5 frames per second. That won't count. For duration, it's where are you at 10 frames per second, okay? And then what the length is. So you just divide it by 10. So if you have 250 pictures, you have exactly 25 seconds. You would need more like 260 to be longer than 25 seconds. That'll give you 26 seconds. For your frame rate, frame rate is how many frames is showing per second. Okay, to get the top category for frame rate, you need more than 10 frames per second. So that means 11 or higher. However, you can only get that top count if you meet or exceed the A level requirement for duration. So if you only have 130 pictures, you can't jack up the frame rate to 12 to get extra points. You have to have the amount of frames first. Okay? You can get 10 FPS no matter how many pictures you have. So even if you only have 100 pictures, if you film it at 10 FPS, you will get 8 points for frame rate. All right, so one more thing for the overview is that I want you to note that this one is set up just like the others. The information page comes first, and then the assignment where you're actually going to submit is second, and that's where the rubric is housed also. And that you need to include this picture with your final movie. You are not done unless you've submitted both. This is how I make sure, 1, that you used OSNAP, and 2, that you have what your frame rate and your duration are. Okay? So this is how I guarantee that you're getting the grade that you earn. So you've got to include this picture. I show you exactly where you need to click, what you need to take a picture of. Make sure this is included. If you have questions about how to submit, you just need to ask. You can ask if you're in class, ask during class. If you're remote, ask during that 2 to 3 in the afternoon or on a Friday. But make sure you ask. Anybody's welcome to send an email at any time.